$8,000 for a reverb. That's right, $8,000 freaking dollars! But before you scream into your comments about how your free plugin folder does the same thing, let me show you why this might be the most terrifyingly powerful black box I've ever dared plug into my studio. Reverb has been around a lot longer than plugins, or rack gear, or electricity. If you go all the way back to the beginning, reverb was reality. You didn't slap on a preset, you built a fucking cathedral and prayed that the reflections didn't sound like garbage. Cathedrals, opera houses, concert halls, they weren't designed for acoustics, they were the acoustics. Now, I've actually gone to the Cologne Dome in Germany, and let me tell you, it sounds absolutely fucking incredible in there. You walk in, speak a word, and it just sounds magnificent. Your voice just hangs in the air like it's been etched into the stone itself. No wonder the medieval peasants thought that God lived there. The sound must have melted their primitive little minds.
It got better.
Now, he never actually showed up, of course, but with that reverb, you'd better start checking the ceiling just in case. Now, I'd love to get a drum set in there one day and mic it up, but that's probably about as likely as me tracking a blast beat on the freaking moon. Now, eventually, somebody figured out that you didn't need a stone cathedral the size of a small nation to get that sound. You could fake it with springs and metal plates. Spring reverb came first, literal metal springs inside a box that would wobble and resonate when you hit it with a signal. It was total mad science, but it worked. And it had its own weird splashy character that guitar players still worship like it's the Ark of the Tone Covenant. Just ask my buddy Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum. He's one of those surf freaks chasing the perfect spring tank like it's the last Horcrux. It's noisy, weird, and doesn't sound anything like real space, and then it's exactly why it's awesome. And the most legendary studio reverb sounds, they didn't come from plugins or pedals, they came from actual rooms or giant steel plates. In fact, Sunset Sound in LA has one of the most famous reverb chambers on the planet. That room is on everything from The Doors to Prince. It's not some magical plugin, you put a speaker at one end, a mic at the other, and let physics do the work. But then came the late 70s, and digital reverb kicked down the door and said, yeah, we're done with all that physics crap. Enter the AMS RMX16, one of the first digital reverbs, and it's still one of the most iconic. If you've ever heard a snare on an 80s rock record that sounded like a shotgun blast in an airplane hangar, yeah, that's the AMS. Its non-Lin 2 algorithm is what made that massive gated reverb sound famous. Phil Collins, Def Leppard, Robert Palmer, and all those supermodels. Yeah, thank Crom, those days are over. That reverb was the sound of 1985. It was punchy, digital, and completely unnatural, and people couldn't get enough of it. But even back then, one company wasn't interested in mimicking the real world. Eventide was too busy inventing new ones. While everybody was chasing realism or trying to make snares sound like tactical explosions, Eventide gave us crystals, the black hole, and the Magelverb. Not reverbs, not effects, these were sonic wormholes. Weapons-grade sound design tools that could peel open reality and scream into the void. And now, all that madness lives in the H9000. Every one of those legendary sounds plus about a billion more. All dialable, all tweakable, and no recap job required. Now, if you want to understand the H9000, you've got to go back to where Eventide first started bending time and space. The H3000 Ultra Harmonizer, released in 1986 and is still one of the most iconic multi-effects processors ever built. This thing was a game changer. It did reverb, pitch shifting, delays, modulation, all in one box. It wasn't trying to sound like a room, it was trying to sound like another freaking dimension. Steve Vai used it all over Passion and Warfare. Those wild pitch-shifted harmonies, cascading delays, ethereal guitar textures. That's the H3000 earning its paycheck. Vai wasn't the only one. Guys like Joe Satriani, Brian Eno, Trent Reznor, and Eddie Van Halen, they all used Eventide gear to push the boundaries. If you heard something weird and beautiful on a record in the late 80s or early 90s, chances are that it came out of an H3000. It had a great interface for the time too, easy to navigate, powerful, and loaded with presets that became the foundation of modern studio effects. But here's where it starts to get a little stupid. If you go on Reverb or eBay today and look up a used H3000, some greedy bastard is going to be asking anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000 for a unit that's nearly 40 years old. And sure, they still sound cool, but you can literally buy an H9000, which can run the equivalent of 16 H3000s at once, with higher fidelity, modern routing, and zero risk of capacitor death for just a slightly higher price. But that's the vintage gear market in a nutshell. Doesn't matter if it's outdated or noisy, as long as it's old and hard to find, somebody will convince themselves that it has mojo because it makes a buzzing sound when you turn it on. For the record, that's not Vibe. That's failing capacitors. And hey, if you want to pay boutique pedal prices for something you'll have to recap every 5 years, be my guest. Meanwhile, I'm going to be over here with the H9000, running 16 pitch-shifted alien choirs at once and still have DSP left over. Let's check it out. Wow! This is the Emote software. This is the key to the whole system. This is what is so awesome. I don't even have to reach over here to the rack to touch the thing. Everything just freaking works. And it's absolutely brilliant too. I mean, I've got so much stuff going on with this mix right now. The capabilities of this unit are just absolutely unbelievable. So over here on the lead guitar, I've got 3 effects stacked. I've got a reverb, delay, and some micro pitch. And that's what you heard on the initial demo there when I rolled it for you, that big bend on the lead tone. Yeah, that's that very, very famous micro pitch sound that you've heard on a million records since the 80s. A little bit of this awesome delay. And nice SP 2016 reverb, which is like the classic Eventide reverb, just a little bit. You know, I can crank that right up, but stack those together and you just get something absolutely incredible. So what's the verdict here? Let's give this $8,000 reverb the Spectre Sound 5-star breakdown. For sound quality, 5 stars. To quote Beavis and Butthead, there is none higher. This thing is the golden ticket, the final frontier, the bee's knees. If the Behringer Virtualizer Pro is the bass player of reverbs, the H9000 is the signal processing equivalent of fusing Beethoven, Mozart, and Van Halen into one supreme being. It is the God Emperor of reverbs. Every sound this thing spits out is dripping with detail and dimension. I am not exaggerating. This is as good as reverb gets. And for $8,000, it freaking better be. Flexibility, 5 stars. So before this came in, I was pretty sure I had all my routing and workflow figured out for hooking it up to the console. And that is until I started connecting it. And it completely changed the way how I work and how I think about applying effects. Originally, I was planning to use it like my Yamaha SPX units. Send it off of the board via the Neves for stereo returns. Easy. And yeah, the H9000 is totally down for that thanks to its 8 analog IOs over DB25. It's perfect for that analog over Cat5 setup that I've got going on here, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll have a link to that at the end of this video. It's definitely worth setting your studio up like this. And then I realized that this thing came with a Dante card. And that's where I saw the light, because now I can apply effects without ever leaving the digital realm. On my system, audio gets recorded digitally, converted to analog, mixed on the Neve, and then printed back into digital. Normally, adding reverb means another round of conversion, and I've only got so many sends available on the console. But with Dante, I can send tracks digitally in Reaper, process them, and bring them back on one stereo return. And how many tracks can I process? Well, the technical term is a motherfucking shitload. That frees up 3 other stereo returns on the console here, just in case I wake up one day and decide that my snare needs 7 reverbs and a kazoo emulation. User experience, 5 stars. You know what's better than incredible sound quality and unlimited routing options? Not having to get up to use them. That's the H9000 experience in a nutshell. The Emote plugin is so good, you're just gonna forget that the hardware even exists. Just plug in the Ethernet or don't. I'm using Wi-Fi because apparently I'm too lazy to just reach over to my rack, but the Wi-Fi works absolutely flawlessly. Eventide even sells a version of the 9000 without any front panel controls. Why? Because the interface is that solid. That's the H9000R. Yours for just $6,000. Same price some poor sucker is paying for a crusty old H3000. Except this one has 16 times the processing power and doesn't require an animal sacrifice to load a preset. The Emote software is a joy to work with. Desktop or DAW, drag, drop, patch, done. Build custom chains, serial, parallel, pentagrams, whatever. Now bear in mind, the Dante setup will make you want to scream into a pillow for a day, but after you've got it set up, it's smooth sailing. As my old audio professor once told me, you're always guaranteed 1 session of grief. That still applies, but hey, it's only once. Impact, 5 stars. Now, this isn't your average bedroom producer reverb. The H9000 wasn't made for people layering 13 free plugins hoping one of them will sound like they know what they're doing. It's made for engineers who need to hit commercial level quality on every single mix and don't have time to babysit glitchy workarounds. Massive reverbs, delays, pitch shifting, dynamics, and emulations of heavy hitters like the AMS RMX16 and Lexicon Rooms. Now, you remember those EMT plates from the early Van Halen records? They're in there, and they don't take up half your damn studio. This box has been on every single mix I've done since it's landed. Vocals, guitars, snares, you name it, it's gone through the H9000. Now that's from the Magnatone SL100 demo I did a few weeks ago, but I didn't mention in that video that that's the Eventide plate. Sounds like a classic, doesn't act like one. No flakiness, no excuses, no burnt out power supply. Overall, 5 stars. This is my first 5-star review, and at $8,000, it better damn well be. This is the kind of gear I used to dream about when I first heard Alien Waterkiss on Passion and Warfare. It's the kind of gear my buddy Mike Noonan would nerd out over when we were in college together, and that's before he became head of audio at CTV Canada. The H9000 exceeds every expectation. If you can dream it up, it can do it. And if there's no preset, you can build your own damn algorithm with VSync. Yeah, I'm gonna get right on that. Just give me 6 months and a minor in DSP engineering. But let's be real, this boss is expensive, but it's also flawless. It delivers the goods every single time. If you want the best, this is the best. And I would rather pay full price for a brand new H9000 than give one single dime to those bottom-feeding scumbags on Reverb trying to sell 40-year-old tech at boutique prices. They're not collectors, they're parasites. Buy smart, buy new, and leave the scalpers to rot. Eventide's been making ridiculously awesome audio gear since before I even bought my first record. And the H9000 is hands down the most powerful effects unit that they've ever built. I've had it for about 6 months and I'm finding new ways to use it every single day. This is gear that would have required a rack full of outdated junk and a blood sacrifice to Crom 20 years ago. And yeah, it's $8,000, but it absolutely freaking works every single time. It's not gonna crap out mid-mix or smell like mildew when you turn it on. And if you're one of those scalpers trying to push a beat-up H3000 for $6,000, you can take your vintage tone and cram it right up your overpriced oxidized XLR port, along with the sticky buttons and mystery firmware. And if you're not ready to go full-on H9000, Eventide's plugins are awesome. The H3000 Factory, the SP2016, Micropitch, they absolutely deliver the goods. Now, if you're looking for a live rig situation, the H90 is an absolute beast. If it had balanced I/O or an ADAT connection, I'd have already welded it into my rack. Bottom line, Eventide doesn't make excuses, they make gear that works. Go check out the real tools, without the crust, the markup, or the mildew at eventideaudio.com. Links in the description below. And if you want to learn just how awesome analog audio over Cat 5 is, check out this video right here. It's the most amazing, cheapest snake cable you're ever gonna get. He's one of those surf freaks. Ethereal? Is it ethereal or ethereal? God damn it! But that is the vintage. It's pretty much smooth. Lots of bloopers in this one.